Boy, oh boy, never have I seen so much drama going on in the real estate community. Maybe I spend too much time on social media and talking to people. Joint venture partnerships are falling apart. A real estate education, quote unquote, university has sold off. With the bull run in real estate over the past 12 years, all these new investors and new investor trainers, they've only experienced a growth phase and never experienced the cons, not like pros and cons, but as in like the like con artists or cons or poor investment models from the credit crisis back in 2008 and 9. Again, they never experienced it. So yeah. Hey, hi, my name is Erwin Cito, bringing you the truth about real estate investing. And by the way, no one's talking about it yet because it hasn't made the media yet. A mid-level developer is selling off in Hamilton. They're selling off numerous properties in Hamilton. We got to be in the at least $100 million mark, somewhere around there. If not, at least it's tens of millions, if not 100 million or more property. The same developer that I warned friends about when they asked me when they were reference checking. I'd personally seen their slumlord properties. I know people that these were fire traps. I invested with the cockroaches. I know people who personally had done business with them and been screwed over. But it didn't matter to many people. Not many. Some investors and business folks would still do business with this developer, with a terrible reputation. It wasn't even hidden. It's actually quite well documented in the media how disliked they were by their tenants and their employees. But they were talented at making money. I always find it fascinating how many will bend or break their integrity for money. I see it all the time in our industry. I think often I'm the only one talking about it, so maybe it's just me. The money is great until the market turns like it has now. Capital and credit have tightened. Some investors out there are unable to raise more capital for these capital-intensive projects, and they're forced to sell in order to pay out employees, partners, consultants, tradespeople, etc. I literally have a friend who's in the HVAC business who is owed a couple $100,000 and has placed a lien on one of these properties. Karma is a B, as the saying goes. The truth is there are moral and ethical ways to be a successful real estate investor. And that's been kind of the objective of this show for our 17 listeners. I do my best to filter out the shysters from this show. They do come asking, and trust me, they do, to come on the show, but they don't pass my screening tests and reference checks. But do know I am not perfect. No one is perfect. I can't screen everything and everyone. Diligence before any investment or relationship or partnership is always required. Is the market falling apart? No. If anything, these times are excellent for the smart money to invest, as the fear is great. How can I tell the fear is high? I've never seen so many individual investors looking to raise capital or credit. Many of them are even violating securities laws by soliciting investment from the public. Just to be clear, there are lots of good investors out there offering good opportunities. Cherry and I invested in one recently. However, there was a lot more bad ones. and there's a lot of investors in major financial difficulty who are just trying to do the last grasp to just try to save the ship. Cherry and I are really picky, but we do invest from time to time in opportunities. My observation is that, and also my observation is that I'm especially seeing more beginners who are recent graduates from weekend courses or private group memberships, whatever. I don't know, desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess. Again, there are, and it was even mentioned in the Toronto Star article last week. I'll include the link in the show notes. The headline was more Canadians are taking out private mortgages as a rise in defaults could follow. So private money, private lending, private borrowing is just dragging out the situation. And whenever that runs out, we'll see more problems. When that comes, it could be a year or two when we see more of these motivated sellers come on the market. But from what I can tell, the problem is mostly isolated to speculators or those who grew rapidly too fast with significant vacancy. And you can expect vacancy anytime you're flipping or doing major renovations or developments, or if you're buying pre-construction and the market rent will not cover your expenses. Yeah, it's bad out there for some. I don't think it's that wide of an issue. I can't say we're past the bottom, but what we're seeing is our clients who bought a property in August 2022. We can't get those same prices today. We can't get the same quality of property nor prices today. So the bottom may have passed. The duplexes that Cherry and I bought in 2021, the market's actually recovered. So the market fell to below what we paid for them. Now the market seems to be back at or above what we paid for our properties back in 2021. But honestly, it matters little. They're duplexes. We get plenty of great rent, and they are 10-year buy and holds or longer for our plans. The market could dip this spring market as power of sales are expected. With anyone who bought recently or can't afford these rates, we could see a temporary dip, especially the speculators who bought new construction with no well thought out exit plan. Sadly, they are out there. I've had calls with some of them, and some of them are in my DMs as well. Yeah, it's sad out there. There are deals out there for those who are able to buy, but there is a lot of smart money out there. Speaking of, we are running into multiple offers on the properties that we target, and do keep in mind we're pretty specific on what kind of property we're looking for. We're typically looking for starter homes that we can add value to, force value into. It could be basement suites or garden suiting, or we'll be looking to do more larger conversions like triplex and fourplex. But we are literally having troubles finding property for sale that fit our criteria to show our clients. So if you do have a property, a potential income property, then please let me know. Agents, send me your pocket listings and referrals. We do have buyers who are interested in purchasing investment property. Wholesalers, you too. We're not afraid of renovation projects. We do have 350 plus past clients who have invested the right way. So we have clients that are quite successful financially because they went slow, they did not over leverage, they invested for cash flow. 45 of them are already self-made millionaires. And we are looking for more kind-hearted people who want to invest smartly to create more financial peace in their lives. So we are looking for sellers, and we are looking for more investors. And you make money investing by buying and owning property. So please don't end up like one of these unfortunate speculators out there. I spoke to an investor last week who is negative $1,500 a month. That's just one. So imagine if they had multiple. So to me, this is hardly a scalable investment strategy for most investors most of the time. And then notice how I'm not raising capital. I'm not looking for other people's money. We never do. Cherry and I never do. We prefer to invest our own money in our own properties. It just keeps our lives simple that way. Again, what I'm looking for is folks who do want to work with professional service providers, such as my team and myself, to guide them like Yoda did for Luke Skywalker, and folks who want to invest like the pros. Just be fair warning, it's a slow, boring process, very systematic, with low risk, but we do it for cash flow for the long term. If you're interested in coming along for the journey on the light side, investing in real estate with morals, ethics, and profits, then you don't want to miss our first ever iWin Real Estate meeting in Whitby, Ontario on Saturday, March 25th. I've included a link to get tickets in the show notes. Clients, it's free for you. If you're not my client, then tickets are about $20 plus tax for each of the events. So what we have for the event what we have planned for the event is I will be giving an economic and market update. I'll probably talk about some of these now defunct investors. Very sad. iWin Real Estate coach Stephen Phillips of HGTV fame will be sharing tactical advice on how to invest from Oshawa to Kingston. It's also tax season for anyone who didn't notice. I'm sure you've all noticed. So we got lucky in being able to get everyone's favorite real estate tax accountant, Chan CPA CA. She'll educate us on the most important tax implications that we must get right this tax season to improve our tax savings and avoid, most notably, the Underused Housing Tax Act fines, which range between $5,000 and $10,000. It's brutal. It's really brutal. And just FYI, I got a call from a friend who works for the CRA. He shared with me that he thought that Cherry is the best educator out there on these new rules. So those are his words. Obviously, I'm biased. Those are my friend's words and he works for the CRA. Following the meeting, we'll go on an educational tour of some potential income properties in Oshawa, and where we will share our professional investor tactics and financial analysis and via handouts. We'll have handouts for folks on the tour. After the tour, we'll have a mastermind lunch with the folks that were on the tour. So you have a chance to connect with them, connect with Steve and myself, and you're going to be networking with some amazing people. I assure you it's going to be an amazing event. Our track record of successful clients and integrity is second to none. So please feel free to spread the word to anyone you care about who's interested in doing what's best for their financial future, which is honestly owning income-producing hard assets in the form of real estate. We're already 50% sold out on the meeting, and the tour is 70% sold out. They're each about $20 plus tax. Clients, again, you have a discount code to go for free. All profits go to charity to outfit poor school children with warm winter clothing. Investing with a heart, that's what we specialize in. We'll hopefully see you there. On to this week's show. Again, there's tons of craziness going on, so it's so nice to have a palate cleanse with go-getters like my old friend Amanda and Marty Gordon. I first met Amanda around 10 years ago at Rockstar Real Estate when she was running the day-to-day as part of the in-house property management business. I've been at Rockstar since 2010, and I'm still there for those who don't know. Fast forward 10 years, she's managed a team of coaches, she's created educational content at Keyspire, and together with her husband Marty, a licensed carpenter who's gone from employee in a construction company to now general managing their own property management company and investment portfolio of small multis in Guelph to small apartment buildings in London. Marty's busy, and he's a hands-on kind of guy, and he knows what he's doing in terms of construction. Apparently, Marty does have extra free time between all of that and their 1-year-old son to coach as a Keyspire coach as well. Heck, I'll never fault anyone for wanting multiple streams of income. It's sure better than all the other trouble that's out there. Amanda and Marty's journey from beginner investors in their early 20s to the present, which is about 17 years in the making. They now have a fair-sized portfolio. They're getting really close to buying and building their dream home on a large acreage and to build a custom-built mansion on that property. It's honestly an inspiring and real journey. Amanda and Marty share how the journey wasn't easy. They required a lot of hard work. Success is not guaranteed, but with hard work, smart decisions over a large period of time, it's honestly hard not to be successful. I give you Marty and Amanda. Hello, Amanda, Marty. What's keeping you busy these days?
We both look at each other.
Where to begin? Do you want to start?
Well, I was going to offer you, but sure. Oh gosh, what are we doing? Well, our real estate business keeps us busy. Right now, Marty and I, we self-manage our portfolio. So there's never a dull day in property management world. And working on new projects as well. We've got a big one that we're currently working on, and dreaming. We're doing a lot of dreaming for ourselves as we're reaching towards some big final goals and transitioning parts of our portfolio out and other pieces in.
Yeah, we actually we just walked our dream property last week. Actually, this has been
for a home or for investment?
For our home, yeah. And it's actually kind of interesting to talk about that. That's actually been our entire driving goal behind everything we do and why we got into real estate, and sort of was this prize at the end of the finish line. And so it looks like we're kind of getting there now. We finally found the property, but it's been 15 years of hunting and working and getting towards it, and we're like
17 years.
Yeah, 17
It's
17 years.
in
When
the
did we start? We
making.
started in 2006.
Yeah.
And so it was just a distant dream at that point, and we're like just possibly getting there. We're just not set in stone yet, but I think it's within grasp. So.
You know how
Are you gonna offer on it?
we
actually already have. It's a property that's off market, so it's without giving. Okay, I'll just tell you.
Don't give away too much. We don't want competition for you.
No, there won't be any competition. But it's 52 acres, so we always wanted this like 50-acre forest, just so we could like have our own walking trails and basically our own nature reserve, essentially. So we found this property, and it's like in the area specifically that we wanted, and it's within our price range, and it's off market, but it was listed last year, and they pulled the listing after a month. So we approached them. We approached their realtor a couple weeks ago, and they're receptive to negotiating at this point, but we haven't got a deal together yet. So
They took off to Paris right now. They're on vacation in the middle of our negotiation, which always seems to happen to us. But okay, we'll patiently wait. But it's exciting. You know how a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm really passionate about real estate and I love what I do and all of this." We're not passionate about real estate, and being a landlord and a property manager, it's
Here.
hard
yeah.
work,
Like this
right?
is
I'm
this
not
is
doing
This
it
is the
'cause I
truth of a
love
real
it.
estate investor.
yeah. This is a
Right?
vehicle to get somewhere.
Thank
you.
What
This
it
is why.
Thank you.
Yes, why we've dealt with all of our. I could write memoirs about tenant scenarios over all these years, and I'm not doing it because I'm passionate. I'm doing it because we want to buy our land. We want to retire young. We want to have freedom and walk our trails.
And lots of
we're
babies.
almost there.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're
Farm
looking for
animals
freedom.
and-
Yeah, we talked about animals.
We certainly do put our passion into it. Like if
Yeah.
you're going to do something, we try to do it with effort. We don't want to half-ass anything or anything like that. But yeah, we have other passions, and this is a way to get there. So anyways, you asked what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. That's what we're hoping to do, but that's just still in negotiation.
Occupying our brain.
So
Are you gonna build a house on it?
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So actually, what we're gonna do
4,000
is
square foot, like what?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
so
We have the plan picked out, and
So the plan is to unload some of our more ripened investment properties, sell them off
That are already highest and best use.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and
Optimized investments properties already. So.
and we've had them for
yeah,
many
and they've
years.
been maturing for maybe 6-7 years or so. So they've got
Some of them,
a fair
yeah.
bit of equity built up in them. They were bought in like 2015, 2016. When prices were less insane.
We're gonna cash them in.
So cash those in and buy the land, and then build over the next 2 or 3 years. And that's kind of the plan for that.
Yeah, own it outright, have our land,
Yeah.
mortgage free.
Yeah, just transition into that final phase. I don't know if it's the final phase, but it's the next chapter.
Yeah.
Hobby farm.
Yes.
A
I'm
little bit.
pushing
She's
for
way
goats.
she's way more sold on this goat idea. I maybe some chickens. Maybe
Well, they'll mow the lawn for you. The
maybe-
goats.
Right? I
Yeah.
told him this. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to cut the grass. If we have pet goats, at least 2, so they have a friend.
I'm open to like a little dwarf pig or something like that, but goats, I don't know about that.
Okay. But you're gonna
Sounds
come
like
home one
it sounds
day.
like a lot more work that I'm not interested in. So.
Yeah. Well, we need more children so they can take care of the animals. This is the idea.
Busy.
Yeah.
So, and on the business side of things, we've really focused on London the past 2 years. Really been focusing on larger scale apartment buildings. We target properties that are in disrepair. Usually they're the type of property that's been mismanaged by the previous owner. So there's usually a lot of opportunity, underperforming rents in the units, that sort of thing. So we'll go in, we'll renovate the entire building, bring it up to code and everything. There's usually a lot of coded violations on older buildings. I'm sure stuff built in the 60s and 70s. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So,
Well, sorry, can you give some examples? Because we have a lot of novice listeners, for example, who wouldn't know what a code violation is.
Yeah. So okay. So
talk about the 12 unit. Let's use this as a good example.
So currently we're doing a 12 unit. We're actually just wrapping up. We totally rehabbed 8 of the 12 units. The other 4 units will be coming up vacant in the next month or so. So then we'll be focusing on those units. One of the biggest things that bothers me as a carpenter is not having the proper ventilation in any kitchen, any bathroom. So like these units, they're not only they're on a boiler system because it's an old apartment building. So there's no furnace, right? So there's no airflow, there's no air return, and then on top of that, there's no exhaust fan in the bathroom, no range hood in the kitchen. So it's just
stinky.
like the only method of moving air is to open the windows. And so if the tenants
in the winter,
right? And so if you walk in there, you can literally smell all the food that everybody's cooking, right, in every single unit. And it doesn't smell good. They're obviously not good cooks sometimes. So
the ventilation, you fix that in all of the
so
units.
that's one of the first things I'll do. It's not a thing that really adds value per se. It's more like it's kind of my it's more for my my peace of mind, adding exhaust
I think
into
smell
the bathroom.
matters.
I think so too.
Yeah, it certainly
I remember
matters.
like early I remember like 2012ish, 2013, before the market really went nuts. Any house, I don't mean to be culturally offending, but in my market, if a house smelled like curry, a lot of our buyers went and offer on it.
Right.
So we would deliberately target those properties to get better prices.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think it likely, I think smells would likely hold down your rent.
It stands
Certainly,
out. It definitely does.
Yep.
And,
It's a first impression.
It is a first impression.
And also the other thing too, like, people taking a shower, the steam builds up, you end up with like peeling paint in the bathrooms and stuff, and it just is musty, damp smelling.
That's poor for maintenance.
So exhaust fans are essential for that, and both in the kitchen and the bathroom. That's just one item. Another item would be something like the wiring. A lot of people think
all the electrical is pretty mandatory.
Like we had decent electrical code even in the 50s, but it's come a long way since then. Backsplash plugs are one of the biggest things. A lot of people don't realize this, but they're a different plug. If you don't have the modern day plugs on your backsplash, you're kind of limited with your countertop appliances. If you have like a toaster and a microwave and like an air fryer plugged in, you're going to constantly be tripping the breaker or blowing the fuse. Right. These are things that like we learned that a long time ago with tenants. They'd be like, why I keep tripping the breaker every time I turn on the toaster. And
then they call you the landlord.
And so we'll go in and we'll take care of those items right away. Once we're getting ready to do this renovation, we're going to be ripping over the walls. We might as well start doing that sort of stuff. So it's not like a code violation per se. It's grandfathered in. It's not a safety issue, but it is something that we take care of just so we don't get those complaints.
It's a nuisance, right? If you
tenants.
Can bust common complaints and just set it up properly, then
we want less. Position. Yeah, we want it. The fewer the calls from tenants, the better, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, while we're speaking about electrical, we're going to need to implement a plan to educate tenants about light bulbs. More recently, at our one property, one of the residential properties, she messaged me and said the breaker is tripped and I can't get it to turn back on. And I'm sure you know this, but some tenants, they just try and turn it on without going all the way off and then on again. So I'm like trying to be as clear as possible. And she's like, listen, I know how it works. It will not turn back on. So I'm like, okay, fine. Send over the electrician.
Oh boy.
And what she actually had done, Erwin, she had put halogen light bulbs into just a regular
so
light
just like
fixture.
what we call like a boob light, like a half, one of those dome lights or whatever, right?
And it had burned the wiring, and because it was on a GFI breaker, it was doing its job by stopping that circuit. And she had done it in 2 of the light fixtures. If it wasn't on the proper circuit, it would have been a fire. And this is a newly renovated property. This was done, 4 years ago?
Like every inch of this basement was brand new.
Yeah.
And
it was an innocent mistake. This was not malicious.
Not malicious.
But
no.
How many tenants does it take to change a light bulb? Like, oh my goodness. Now I'm thinking, who else has done this? Like, do we need to, when we're signing leases, be like, hey, by the way, like, don't burn my
halogens have that
custom.
warning on the box too.
Yes.
This gets extremely hot. Do not put in the wrong fixture. And then the fixture itself also has that warning. Do not put halogens in here.
Yeah. It's like putting diesel in your vehicle, a gas-powered vehicle. But anyway,
yeah, because for me, I would naturally take whatever the existing light bulb and match up the requirements.
And
Exactly.
and everything's LEDs these days, so it doesn't get hot at all, right? So she didn't do that. Innocent mistake, but at least nobody got hurt, right? It just cost me.
I imagine it was costly. You
Well,
said the electrician.
it was. I think the bill was $500. It was for his time to go change the breaker, change out 2 light fixtures as well because they were both burned, and a pack of light bulbs. So
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
And he
Not
went
bad.
quickly for me as well. So we have a good team of people. We've got
Right.
really good contacts who we've built over the years. We treat them good. They give us good service, and I mean it's the win-win situation.
Fabulous.
But without the moral of the story is make sure that your wiring is done correctly, because if it wasn't on the proper breaker, that would have been a much worse issue.
So the interesting thing I find about you two is that, and I find this interesting almost all of our guests, is that you have not just an interesting investor journey, but you also have interesting career journeys, right? Because you both, because Amanda, I've known you for over 10 years. I can't believe you reminded me.
We were just calculating that.
12 years we've known each other.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you guys walk us through? I guess we're going to take turns on our journeys, because like, for example, Marty, you've been a carpenter for how long?
I guess it's like 22 years. Not actually certified. I got certified in 2009. So yeah, okay. I'll back up the story a little bit. So we bought our first investment property in 2006. It was, it was our first property, not just our first investment. It was our very first, I was living at home. She was living at her parents'.
Nice.
And, we were we knew that we were not keen on, even at that time, the price of houses, we're only making $15 or $16 an hour, I think. And we're like, my God, I'm going to be working my entire life to buy a house. Even then, houses were $150,000 or $200,000. Not crazy, right? But we're like, we got to do something about this.
I was 21, Marty was 24, so we're just starting our adult lives.
We had to figure out a way to get some additional income coming in. So we bought a bungalow. We created a basement apartment, lived in that basement apartment, rented out the 3 main floor bedrooms, and lived mortgage free for the first 2.5 years. Right? It was about 2.5 years.
We're
and then,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to be I remember, everybody lives at home and they have super cheap rent. My parents were charging me, I think, $200 a month at the time. And then suddenly I'm going to have this, I think our mortgage was $1,200 or something. So it's not crazy, but when you're 24, you're thinking about
all
that.
a lot of money.
Yeah, it's how the heck am I going to...
We set up our amortization for our very first property for 7 years. So
they thought we were crazy.
We hammered our payments.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to do a 25-year amortization. I'm
We're
like, no, we're
25,
not. We're doing 7 years.
We did the math.
She laughed at us. The mortgage broker laughed at us. I said, no, 7 years. She's like, you can't afford that. I'm like, do you think I haven't ran the payments? We know we can. But then we lived mortgage free for 2.5 years, so it was great, and we'd had this huge amount of equity had built up because our payments were so high. And then we just kind of transitioned from there. We sold that property, bought another house to move into, and
before that, actually, we did a refinance. We drew the equity and bought a rental property.
Right. Before
we actually moved out, so we had figured out some of these tried and true strategies that nobody taught us, but we had learned on our own at a very young age, and getting started, getting that momentum going from that very first investment was monumental for us.
Yeah, and at that time,
sorry, how did you know to do this?
Well,
parents, mentors?
No, you know what? It was kind of just
talking.
We're talking about. You know what? Actually, at the time. Student rental, we live in Guelph, or we lived just outside of Guelph, so student rentals was really popular in Guelph.
Still is.
Yeah, and so that was kind of originally we're like, let's buy a student rental, and we were originally planning on just staying at our parents' house. I'm not going to move out. I'm going to buy a student rental, and I'm going to keep living at my parents', and I'm going to rent it out. And then we kind of just hit this point where we're like, I can't live here any longer. I got to move out. So we kind of scrapped the student rental idea and did a basement apartment. I knew that me working in construction I worked for this small family-run general contracting business. He did custom homes and stuff. Some of his clients were doing student rentals and basement apartments. So was probably my first bit of exposure to it. And so that kind of got my mind turning a little. I think I probably saw something about Tony Robbins flipping houses at the time as well.
Read a couple books as well.
Read a few books.
But also the years before that, when I was 18, serving at a restaurant in Guelph, is when I had met Scott and Michael serving at the Greek Garden in Guelph. So here's these two cool guys.
Sorry, for the listener, who are Scott and Michael?
Oh, sorry. So Michael Saraceni and Scott McGillivray.
Yeah.
So we just connected by chance serving at a restaurant. So there's these guys, university guys, that owned rental properties in Guelph. So
now this is before the HGTV days.
This was long before then. Right. So that was when I was 18. So I was picking their brain, and they were talking about investing in real estate. Had actually gone to one of their properties one day after work, and I was like, can you just tell me a bit about this? So we were influenced at that time. I mean, we eventually went our separate ways and then came back through business for business reasons in the future, but we were influenced at that time as well.
Yeah, in case you tell the story, because for folks who don't know, I believe that was a large part of how they started investing, was Guelph University students.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Guelph University students buying rental properties was what had set off their business.
Which is funny, because that's the exact same way how Skyline REIT started.
Yes.
The two brothers huge. And their partner. Yeah, and they're enormous.
Yeah, really big.
Yeah, so as Amanda said,
some influence.
We had kind of lost touch with them though, McGillivray and Saraceni, and then we did our first purchase there, and at that time I already had like 4 or 5 years experience, kind of just as a laborer though. I wasn't a carpenter. I was kind of working towards it, but not committed to it. And I was like, still figuring out what I was really wanting to do. And then it was like kind of a light bulb went off. I'm like, why don't I just become a certified carpenter and like make this my career? And I figured it would be essentially, like a really good tool to have if we were, going to drive forward towards more investing and focusing on renovations and that sort of thing. So started going to trade school. Because I've been working in it for so long, I already had enough hours to knock that off of my requirements for my certification. So by 2009, I graduated. I was a certified carpenter then, and
the year we got married was 2009 as well.
Yeah, that happened too. And then we just decided, let's push this as hard as we can, and let's see where we can take this. Right. So
you went from worker to just more focused on your own portfolio?
Yeah, it was really a fast transition. So like when I became certified, within less than a year, we got married, sold that first property, and bought 3 more properties, and I quit my job and became self-employed.
And moved into our own house. And now we were no longer living with tenants as well.
That's right. We could no longer tolerate the tenants stomping around.
Graduate from house hacking to living on your own.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So then...
sorry, just to pause right there. I love that you're sharing the journey, because people need to understand it's not... You don't go from 0 to 1,000 over like 1 year.
Oh my gosh, no.
You don't go from having a day job, having like 30K in the bank, to talking about building a 4,000 square foot custom home on 50 acres.
Right.
There was a lot of blood, sweat, tears, effort.
There's
a sacrifice with that as well.
Changing toilets on Christmas
Day.
Yeah. Because your tenants are saying that, my toilet's not working, and what do you do? And we didn't have the money to hire a plumber, so we went and did it ourselves.
And within our circle, our friends at that time, because we're in our early 20s, they're going on vacations and they're starting their families young. And Marty and I were like, no, we want to really work extremely hard in our 20s so that we have freedom younger. And to each their own for their preference. We were not vacationing at that time. We were working on our rental properties.
Working 4 hours a week, right? 4-hour work week.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Maybe add a couple digits to that. You're crushing my dreams here, Amanda.
It's funny too, and anybody that's in real estate investing probably knows this, that when you first start, you're excited, especially if you're in your 20s, you're excited to tell all of your friends about it and tell them, no, listen, I've got this perfect plan and you should do it too. I'm going to be rich and you should do it too. And you want to convince them to do the same thing. And it never goes well, right? Like
we lost a few people along the way.
You just basically convince people that they don't want to hang out with you anymore because it's all you talk about. Well, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be a landlord.
Nobody's interested in something you didn't do, which are the words by the late Gord Downey. So, I mean, it's true. If you're always talking about what you're going to do, it's a bit obnoxious. So.
Yeah, and it takes time. There's years and years of slow building. Like back then, there was not a lot of like educational material. There's a few books out there and stuff, but not a lot of like there's so much out there nowadays with
to move your starting line,
community, Facebook groups, mentorship programs, all sorts of things like that a lot of people can learn not to make the mistakes that we made, and also just you can, I don't want to say fast track it, because you do have to take it one step at a time, but there's certain things you can avoid, mistakes that slow you down. Like we've done projects there, flipping houses. We flipped a house once and lost a lot of money on it. We've made some major mistakes. So,
and that's the truth about real estate investing. And just also, again, just to take a over like 50,000 square foot view, you're talking about you bought your first property in 2006. Your 4,000 square foot home will probably be done by 20 years later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It took 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Instagram, HGTV 30 minutes.
No.
No, it was not. There's
seconds.
Evenings and weekends and sacrifice and work and saying no to a lot of things and just having to be focused and diligent with our business.
Right. And you poured everything into it.
Everything. Yeah. Everything.
Still waiting on that vacation.
Yeah, we've never gone on a vacation.
That's not a joke. That's not a joke.
Believe that.
That's not a joke at all.
We've never been away.
People think like we're boring or something. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Don't you ever want to get out? We enjoy our life. Like we do not
have a boring life.
We have very active. So we're like restaurant people though. Like that's probably our biggest downfall.
Downfall?
Is like as far as like spending money where it's offers no return on investment is going to restaurants and
hanging on patios.
Yeah, hanging. Yeah, we
life.
could do that 5 days a week sometimes. So we have. So we find it kind of progresses. We'll be like, okay, we'll go once a week, and then it's twice. Then it's like as soon as the warm weather hits, it's like 5 days a week. We're like, then we have to just cold turkey quit.
Yeah.
And stop. We're like, we're not going out for another month because we need to reset and
make it 2 weeks and try again. But anyways, we I think we went off track. You were answering a question about something.
I forget.
I don't remember what the question was.
I know. I'm like dreaming of being on a patio right now with.
We were talking about your career journey.
Oh right. Yes. And how you got to self-employed.
2009. I was buying. We were like, okay. We tried a student rental and it was really not cash flowing well, but we'd already done the basement apartment thing and that had worked so well that we're like, okay, the basement apartment thing's the way to go. So we pushed in that direction. We bought another one.
So sorry, that's 2009. Like that strategy's still killing in Guelph.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah.
So
this has been incredibly lucrative for us, most of our portfolio has been built with buying a single family home, creating the basement apartment, and we do this with joint ventures, we do this with private lenders, like we have done this so many times over, but it's been our bread and butter.
Yeah, it's our bread. That's what we call it, our bread and butter strategy.
Actually, duplex homes in Guelph are renting for like low 5,000 a month.
Yeah, they definitely are.
They are.
Our last one was 5,000 on the button, I think.
Yeah,
which we tenanted in August. Was it last August? Yeah.
Yes, it was August.
So I knew if we were going to do this next,
and it's gone up since.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, tenants.
Yeah.
We're so sorry.
And it'll go up again because there's also that rule about when you've created a basement apartment, the rent controls no longer apply. So we can increase the rent to market rents for the basement apartments because we created that new space. It was,
Yeah.
if it was
For the
created
base-
after which year?
2018.
2018.
2018.
And just to
or-
clarify, it's not because it's a basement apartment. The strategy is working well, not because it's a basement apartment, but it's also you chose Guelph, which has been a wonderful
Guelph is
city.
Guelph,
for investment.
yeah. So Guelph regularly ranks near the top cities. At one point, it was #1 city to
It has
invest
been, yeah.
in the entire
Depending on which
country.
chart.
But it's not always #1. It's usually in like the top 5 cities in the entire country. By the way, London as well now. So that kind of just was pure luck. After last year, London and Kitchener saw the highest average rent increase in the entire country, which was 30% increase in the average rent.
For
So
new leases signed.
so that, it was kind of like, wow, we're investing in London now, and
You can't say that was luck. You selected that market not out of luck. You didn't draw cities out of a hat.
I saw there was opportunity there, but I didn't know it was going to
And
become the
numbers were-
#1.
Yeah, we didn't know that it would be #1 for that statistic. But there's lots of good
Yeah.
reasons to invest in London and good
Yeah.
reasons to invest in Guelph, and that's where we hold our entire portfolio. Is those 2 cities.
Okay, those 2 cities.
Yeah.
So again, but you were having so much success in Guelph. How did you make the decision that you need to expand to a different city?
Yeah. Okay. So we started. Okay.
No, actually, just 1 second. A beginner mistake I find is, like, a beginner will have a property here, like Innisfil, and then like Oshawa, and then like Peterborough, and then like
Spread
London,
out.
like
Yeah.
No,
You nailed it. So
We've consolidated actually, even within the city of Guelph. All of our houses are within like 10 minutes of each other. Like they are all in this little neighborhood
Yeah.
that it's the same thing. We have washed, rinsed, and repeated the same
Yeah.
strategy over and over, and it has been so profitable. But we moved to London when we entered into the multi-residential game.
Yeah,
And
so-
it's because the numbers, really.
was that explain the numbers? Is that type of investment not available in Guelph?
Yeah,
Is
so-
there no buildings that size? Like why
there are, but people hold on to them. And then, for example, there's a 6-plex for sale in Guelph right now that's been for sale for over a year, and it was
It's
listed.
priced right then.
It was listed.
might think so.
It was listed for 1.95, and that was at the peak of the hot market. Back in January of last year, and at that time, I ran the numbers on it, and I was like, wow, this is like $500,000 overpriced. And here we are a year later, it's still listed. They've dropped the price by 50,000, and it's, so we're like talking 400 days on market at this point. So it's largely because of a shortage of inventory. People in Guelph don't like to let go of properties.
It's a smaller
so
city. London is
understandably, if I had one in Guelph, I wouldn't be selling it, a multifamily that is.
They're pricing it as if it's the after reno price. But
So this is the other
so
thing.
the numbers just don't make sense.
Yeah,
Like by
and
the time you renovate it and get the rents up, well, you have to make money on the buy. If you purchased it for way too high of a price, then it just doesn't make sense. The numbers don't work out.
We've just found London is a lot more opportunity there, and not just London, by the way. There's a few other big cities like Hamilton, for example, that I think are very comparable to London with their pricing and their opportunity. One of the things I like about Hamilton is they're very friendly for development, rezoning. They're really trying to promote the idea of building up. So you can take a lot of the older buildings in the downtown area are more or less, I don't want to say pre-approved, but would be easily approved to have them totally demolished and put up like a 5-plex. Some of my students are doing the exact same thing, and that's kind of become their focus, is to redevelop downtown properties in Hamilton into larger units.
Do you realize you're speaking to Mr. Hamilton himself?
Actually, I didn't realize that.
Right here.
Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah. For context, I'm friends with the head of the economic development department, and I remember she was telling me that she poached one of the head people at city planning at Burlington, because if you're in Burlington, I think you guys know you can't get anything done.
Right.
You're actually like a place where developers go to die.
Yeah.
Right. So she was able to poach that person, and then in a short period of time, he got like 10 developments approved.
Right.
Right? And that's what planners want.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want to see progress towards housing affordability, urbanization. It's what they want. It's what they went to school for.
Yeah. Now it sounds like that's about to change province-wide with, what is it, Bill 23? Is that what it's? Yeah. So it seems like they're going to be kind of streamlining the process. I'm still interested to see how that actually plays out, but
It is government.
yeah, right. And you know, there's still going to be an approval process, right? So you know, somebody still has to make the final decision. So it's not necessarily just a green light on everything. But yeah, anyways, back to like the London discussion. There's just way more inventory. There's a lot of underperforming properties there. There's a lot of properties that are poorly managed, and probably it seems to me, I mean, I'm guessing, but it seems like the owners either inherited the property or they've just owned it for so darn long, like 20 or 30 years.
That they basically let it rot.
Yeah, and they're kind of ready to retire. Like several of the properties we bought there, the person selling it was like in their mid to late 70s, right? So, you know, either, you know, they're
not taking care of it at that point.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've come in, but there's a lot of reasons to invest in London. I believe it's the 10th largest city in Canada, which is huge. Their population is very large. And, you know, the immigration that is coming into London is massive as well, that when people are moving, sorry, are you going to correct me?
No,
okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
So when people are moving to London, there truly is the housing crisis is real everywhere, but in a large city like that, it's exaggerated, right? So why that's beneficial to investors is your vacancy rate and your choice of tenant, your tenant selection is improved, the quality of tenant that you can choose because their options are fewer, right? So London overall is a very robust city from an employment standpoint as well. Our properties are very close to the Victoria Hospital, so you get healthcare workers. The education field is really big in London as well, not to mention the tech industry. So these are kind of the main tenant employment profile that we're able to select from. So it's very robust. It's a good city. It's a big city. It's a growing city. And there's investment opportunities there for sure. And it's, in our opinion, currently the best city to invest in right now.
It's going to be our focus for the next little while.
And we're setting up shop there too. So, you know, back to what you were saying, Erwin, we don't want to be spread out too thin. I don't want to own in 10 different cities right now. So there's a lot to be said about setting up shop, really get to know your market, build your team of people there as well. Like, we're doing very large scale renovations. So I don't want 15 carpenters on my roster. I want to know who is my go-to, who is my great electrician in this area. And, you know, there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained about buttoning down your business and just running it really, really well rather than being spread out too far.
Yeah, that's to your point, Erwin. That's another thing that I would say to anybody starting out. You know, it's what I tell my students as well is become an expert in your market, right? Like there's so much to learn about, you know, landlording and renovations, and just there's a lot to learn on a single property, right? If you're gonna get into real estate. The list is long that you have to learn just on one property. It would be great to kind of automatically learn about that neighborhood rather than every time you're buying a new property, you now have to become an expert on a new city, a new area. Become an expert in one spot while you're learning the operations, the landlording, the property management, all of that sort of stuff. And try not to jump around. Now, obviously, that's not always an option. Some people, you know, a lot of, you know, Ontario's expensive. So, you know, I do see a lot of people that can't afford to buy here, but want to get into some sort of investments. You know, like Alberta's a great spot, or the East Coast. There's more entry level properties. Please focus.
Don't buy one in New Brunswick. Don't buy one in Alberta.
Exactly. I tell people even that, you know, maybe look at pick two or three cities to look at, and then make a selection, and wherever that is, now that should become your area of expertise. Just repeat that strategy for you know, years over, as long as you can.
And I've heard people say like, oh yeah, Ontario is very expensive, so I want to go somewhere else that is cheaper. And Marty and I say this often is, I don't want to own cheap real estate. I want to own the best and the most profitable real estate. So it isn't just about buying at the lowest point possible. I don't want that real estate in those smaller markets. Otherwise, you're not going to get the return on your investment. It's all about the ROI, right?
Yeah, yeah. We always talk about like the primary markets in Canada versus secondary. So like Ontario and BC are always going to be the primary markets. The only time you see people sort of going into Alberta and the other provinces is when Ontario or BC kind of hit that peak, and then other areas become more favorable because of the price point. But if all things are created equal, if Alberta's price ever rose to the level of Ontario, then people are always just going to pick Ontario. It's just there's jobs and just it's a lot more. Yeah, so there's a lot more desirability of Ontario and BC. So it's always going to be a primary market. But I forget where I was going. Kind of lost my point there.
Focus.
Yeah, to focus, not be spread too thin. And then another thing for people who are beginning is it isn't just about the fake it till you make it. And we see that
a lot.
No. And if you're new and you're starting off and you're seeing people boasting about all these crazy deals or what they're looking at, what they're showing that they're doing, as opposed to maybe what they're actually doing behind the scenes, is don't be discouraged. It isn't like you're just suddenly going to buy your first property and it is a 50-unit building all of a sudden. That isn't where you start. That's not realistic to believe that. And if you don't have the skills, well, how do you gain the experience, right? I started as a property manager, and this is actually when we met. So I've self-managed my properties before then, but I was hired as a property manager for a real estate brokerage. And I was looking after, I think at that time it was around 50 single family homes, and they were all under my care. So what I got to do was actually learn property management school and get paid for it. Like I feel like I went to property management university, and oftentimes those houses that go into management, they're struggling. The owners are having a hard time with them, and it was the best education possible because the amount of, this is going to sound weird, but the amount of evictions that I was able to go through, it taught me the ins and outs of the landlord-tenant board. And I have done probably within my career, probably 50 through the landlord-tenant board, like actually through the system, filling out the paperwork. And I learned, like what I learned doing that in even just 1 year, in that first year, was incredible. So
of course, this was before there was a 16-month wait for evictions at the landlord.
That's improving now.
I think it's half of that.
Oh yeah, right. They've been making progress.
Yeah, but
we actually were dealing with one right now. But
yes, we are.
What was it? 7 months? We've got a hearing date for 2 weeks from now. But
from 27.
I think when did we apply? It was
about 7 months ago. Yeah. So I mean, where I was going with that is get the experience. You don't need to fake it till you make it. If you want to be an investor, then go be an investor and go get the experience. And if you can do some property management, it's a really great place to start. I mean, not everybody is a carpenter. Not everybody is skilled hands like Marty has.
You don't need to be.
Skill to have,
yeah, it is a good skill. You do not need to be a trade. Certainly great if you are, but if you're not a trade, then learn to work with trades. That's really, or you can always invest in turnkey properties, right? That's going to cost you more money.
Or from a passive position, there's other options. But if you want to be like a working partner,
if you want to make the best bang for your buck, or best ROI for your time, focusing on rehab properties is almost always going to be, the other than new builds, like if you can buy a lot for a good price and do some kind of new build, there's opportunity there as well. But
you need to have time.
And learning to work with contractors and building that team is really helpful too. So you don't have to, the goal is not to be on site. I know a lot of people, they see the TV shows and they want to go and swing a sledgehammer and knock some cabinets out, and that's fine for like your first one.
I think you can remove them with your drill, right?
Yeah, I don't. I would always.
That doesn't work on the Instagram.
I would always cringe at that because
video.
we'd be on the job site and it'd be like, no, we're saving these cabinets. Let's unscrew them, and the customer wants them for their garage or something, and so we would always unscrew the cabinets.
Often our tradespeople want them for their basements.
Yeah, and then you watch.
Don't need to trash them.
Yeah, and then on TV you see them. They're like, for no reason, like they want to swing this heavy sledgehammer. It's like, that thing's heavy. Okay, I don't want to swing the sledgehammer unless I have to, and I'm certainly not using it to take out a piece of drywall, because you can just like pop the drywall off with a pry bar and take it out in one whole sheet. But people are like, ah.
And you're saying trade skills are important? I actually think they're wonderful, because even my own journey, my ex-girlfriend, then ex-wife, I get the benefit of learning about renovations, because that family, my then father-in-law, now ex-father-in-law, was a master plumber, had a plumbing business. My ex had a kitchen and bath renovation business. So I got to see it and live it, renovating our own properties, and also how she managed contractors, how do you manage sites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's huge, yeah.
But we were discussing before we were recording how I, in my experience with some of my office working clients, they don't understand all the challenges that come with renovation projects. And I'll even expand on that. For example, like where I've seen some novices get in trouble, not my own clientele, but ones I've talked about on the show, is they'll take on multiple distressed properties off market, needs $100,000 work, $1,000 worth of work. They don't understand that all of them can go sideways. Likely all of them will have delays, material delays, labor delays, and some of that's just natural. They don't understand that. They think Gantt chart, contractor told me this, they show up this day, I'll be done by this day, my refi will be done, I'll have my money back.
Chart.
Yeah,
that's it. Well, there's a guarantee with renovations. You're going over time and you're going over budget. Guaranteed.
So I can't book my appraiser in 6 months time, like knowing that.
Sure, you can book them, but you're going to rebook them.
Yeah.
You're breaking my dream.
Sorry, bubble bursting.
I always try and explain to people, it's like dominoes. With trades are like dominoes. Like if you can imagine, like your contractor might be delayed starting on your job because of something that somebody else did like 5 lines back or 5 dominoes back, right? Like he could be working on a job and the electrician didn't finish, so that delayed him from finishing, so delayed the whole job, and so he can't even start your job because of something.
For perfectly good reason.
Right? And so a lot of people, we were talking about this before, a lot of people aim to punish their contractor for that sort of thing. It's like a lot of these things are out of their control. Obviously,
just to elaborate on the punish the contractor, I've actually seen it taught in certain places where they talk about, there will be a penalty if you're beyond 60 days late.
Right.
And beyond that to the contractor.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Try negotiating that.
Or another example.
The contractor's like, rip, I'm not even signing this paper.
Yeah, let's lose my number.
Or somebody else.
Or another thing, so a lot of contractors gave out prices pre-pandemic for jobs that they're going to be starting in 6 or 8 months, and then price of lumber just skyrocketed, and so studs went from like for one 2x4 by 8 foot long was like $3, and it went up to $12, and so their pricing, that was based on the price at that time, and so then they would have to increase the price, and again,
some customers are feeling like, haha, too bad on you, but
yeah,
that's not true.
We have a contract.
Yeah,
we have a contract. Well, they're like, well, you're not actually forcing me to. I'm not going to do the work. Then
we have a quote.
Yeah. right.
Exactly.
Yeah. The best.
At the end of the day, if those studs are installed on your property, guess who's paying for it? It's not coming out of the contractor's pocket, and why should it? Right?
But
and also life happens. Like for example, one of my clients, his I forget which part. I think drywall was delayed because the drywall's father had passed.
Right.
So there's gonna be a delay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but like these obviously aren't in the quote.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Life happens.
It does. But even like working with trades, I have some experience, minimal experience, but having you on the job site, this is where we divide and conquer.
Yeah. Love it.
When Marty's doing the contracting. because he is a trade, the trades on site appreciate.
He's more than a trade. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure he has other skills.
He's the king in my world, but I mean, you know, other people don't usually call him that.
We went from trade to king. Okay.
Well,
Sorry,
okay.
let's continue. But I love this. I love where you're going but the partnership. Please continue.
Yeah, so when Marty's on the job site and he's managing the trades, they appreciate that because they don't have to explain all of the ins and outs, and they're speaking the same language essentially. And then Marty understands like the flow of work, as he was just saying, the dominoes. And there's also like these little in-between jobs that are not really specific to any trade that Marty can jump in and often do as well and just keep the job progressing forward and keep costs down. So he does a really, really good job managing all of that. And I know they appreciate it. And it's something that I don't want to do. Managing a construction job site is not my jam.
I do want to add, like, I want to caveat what I was saying about, not getting, too, not being too on top of your contractor too. Like if there's a delay, that's like that can go very sideways as well, right? Like there's obviously tons of terrible contractors out there that have no business touching a hammer at all. And, they're not qualified. They've never been trained. They watched a YouTube video and started a company, and now they're doing Amanda's mother's bathroom.
I was just going to say, you recently fired somebody in the most dramatic fashion.
Oh my God. This was
I've
like,
never seen behavior like this.
And by the way, I'm very respectful to trades. Even if I'll have a trade, like I've got this guy right now that I just fired, but he doesn't know he's fired. He's just not going to be hired back. He's been paid, but his workmanship for drywall was just terrible, right? And so he's not going to be hired back. There's no need to yell at him or give the royal firing. But Amanda's mother, I don't want to get into. Should I get into this?
Well, my mom's going to listen to this podcast, I'm sure.
So
but
just
keep things
with
PG.
Our 18th listener.
Yeah,
thank you.
So she hired. There's this.
Just leave out some
details. She hired a contractor, and we gave her some tips, and we were going to help her select a few different contractors. We'll review the quotes with you, and we'll help you pick one. And I'm not sure what happened. We were busy or something, and somewhere along the line, By the
time we reviewed the quotes, they had already selected the one
just
they were
picked.
going with.
Yes,
so I'm like, okay, no problem.
They weren't patient with us. They selected some
usually
guy, and the site that they had hired him from, which was supposed to be like a middleman mediation company that they take your money and then they pay the contractor so that you don't get burned.
Like a PayPal.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of those type companies. I don't want to name the company, but
he talked them into going around it.
He was like, "Listen, you can save some money if you just pay me direct instead of paying the
in between.
the
did
PayPal company."
Unsuspecting.
It wasn't PayPal, but
didn't tell us, unsuspecting. And then this guy is showing up on the job site, and there's issues, and he's showing red flags pretty early on. And my mom. And my sister, who is a mother of two now as well, they just want their bathroom renovated, right? And they don't know much about renovations to be managing trades. And my mom's sending me pictures, but as you know, it's kind of difficult to see updates.
She said he was starting to show the signs of like he's showing up, working an hour, and then leaving, and then showing up on like a Saturday or he'd say he'll be there tomorrow and then doesn't show up.
And then it's like a
all
family
that sort of
friend
stuff.
who was working and doing the tile instead of him. And my mom's getting concerned, and my sister's concerned, so we go over on a Sunday.
It's Sunday morning, and she starts sending us pictures. She's like, I don't know if this looks right. Can you get Marty to look at this? And she sent me these pictures of the tubs installed, and they're laying tile. And I'm looking at the tub, and first of all they've drywalled around the tub surround to put tile on. You don't use drywall in a shower, which is insane. But I could just see like this drywall went behind the tub, and the tub was screwed into the drywall. I'm like, oh my God, this is completely wrong. Like this guy doesn't know how to install the tub at all, but he's already tiling the floor.
Didn't he make the effort to watch the YouTube how to do it?
He didn't even watch the YouTube.
Right? So I'm like, that's it.
That's like the worst.
I'm like,
it was the worst. It was the worst. So Marty's
I'm like, we gotta go. When's he coming
over
there next? She's like, well, he said he'd be here today, and it's Sunday. I'm like, he's working. Well, we're gonna be there in an hour. So we get there. And I'm hoping I can go in and like look at his work before he shows up, so I'm certain that I'm gonna fire the guy, or was it just like a bad picture or something? we pull in the driveway, and then this contractor literally pulls up in the driveway as I'm literally getting out of my truck. And I'm like, so I had like 2 seconds to run inside, and I'm like, and I don't have time to inspect this bathroom to actually make sure.
So to set the scene.
So I walk so I walk into the bathroom before he sees me, and within 1 second, I'm like, no, he's getting fired. Like, this is, there's tile, like, falling off the floor, cracking under my feet.
That was just done, like, 12 hours before.
Like, the tub is, like, installed on a huge angle.
Crooked.
Like, they like, the amount of, the drywall mud looked like he'd put it on with a hockey stick. Like, it was just, everything was wrong. So
I'm upstairs with our baby. My sister's up there with her 2 babies. And then my mom is, like, arm in arm with Marty, and then this guy comes walking in, and the dogs are barking. Like, it's a chaos scene, and he walks in.
I'm not gonna get. I can't. There was a lot of F-bombs, really, but I'm like.
But he was like, "You're fired," in a more.
I gave him 10 minutes of me berating him and looking straight at him, being like, look. He kept wanting to look at the floor. I'm like, look at me. You don't know what the hell you're doing, right? Like, I'm paraphrasing here, but you don't know what the hell you're doing. You've never done a bathroom in your life. You've never set a tub in your life. And he would keep repeating it back to me. Oh, really? I've never put in a tub in my entire life. I'm like, that's right.
But this was a full-blown scam. So this wasn't a matter of, he wasn't that good or anything like that. He was robbing my mom. He was robbing my sister, and he was never going to get the job done.
You could see the look in his face.
Thousands of dollars from them, and then Marty was like, and there's one more thing that you can do. Get the bleep out of here.
Is this gentleman the person that sold the job? Or
yes.
is this one? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought this was the Minions.
No. The Minions weren't there. This was like the head honcho.
That's like the worst of the worst that we've ever
I
seen.
Smashed a tile on the floor.
Oh, that was the other thing.
In front of him because it came off. I'm like, look at this. They're loose. I picked it up and I threw it on the floor. And it smashed. Like, it was very dramatic. Anyways, this is not how I normally conduct myself. Like I said, normally if I fire somebody,
but this sounds like one of the worst things
I've ever seen. It was just insane. But the reason I got so heated was because it wasn't a guy that was trying and had made some mistakes. It was a guy that clearly knew he's scamming people. He's going around scamming people.
And my sister. I mean, give me a break. Like, you're not going to come in here and do that to our family. So, it's kind of a long and dramatic story to say. To having an eye for managing your job site is extremely important so that you're not taken by scammers and that you are able to inspect along the way before you're releasing paychecks as well. Like, I don't have a trained eye to go to a job site and say, wow, this flooring's done properly. Where Marty does. He understands how it actually needs to be installed and what are the deficiencies. Do they need to come back and do the corrections? So, for a new investor who's getting into it and they think, oh, well, I'm just going to hire a general contractor.
Right. And now I'm going to outsource it.
Yeah.
Wipe 4-hour work week.
Who is managing? The 4-hour work week.
I'll
Who's
book
managing?
The appraiser now for my Burr refi. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got it.
I can book my vacation because I don't need to check on anything.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah, we see a lot of that.
But to manage the contractor is extremely important because this guy was calling himself a general contractor. So if you're writing those paychecks, those checkpoints are so extremely important. And this was just one little bathroom renovation. Imagine this on scale. If you're doing this at a 6-plex, a 12-plex, the numbers go up. And
in different cities all over Ontario.
Right? Yeah. And you can bankrupt yourself.
Out of province.
People are.
And you're investing out of province as well.
Oh, good Lord.
So, it's just a word of caution of stay in your lane, really. Work your way up, get those skills, build that team, have people that you can trust on your team.
The bankruptcy thing, too.
Level jumping.
I don't know if this... I guess it's, well, since we're on the topic, we saw this happen firsthand in the last year. I don't want to tell a huge long story, but there was a guy who's basically branded himself as a house flipper, like a pro, an expert, and he had maybe 10 or 11 properties and was flipping a lot, really flipping.
Oh, but I know who it is because they're in London. Yeah, I know who it is.
But you might know as the story goes on.
Okay, they are. And so But they'd only been flipping for maybe 2 years, and it's like, okay, the market's really been exploding since like 2020. So you could basically flip houses with your eyes closed. You don't even need to actually.
You don't even do anything.
You could just buy a house and sell it, right? And
Gives
so
the illusion that you're actually good at what you're
and
doing.
so right,
but
it can created what that did for a lot of people, especially this one guy, created a false perception
him and his
of
partners.
how good he was at what he was doing. And this is what I always try and tell people: buy and hold is generally a fairly safe strategy, especially if you're building some value in. But if you're looking to just do quick flips, it's like a game of hot potato. Like if you're flipping this potato to somebody, and if the market changes, whoever's caught holding that potato, or I don't even, is that a game?
Yeah,
I don't know.
hot
Know.
It
So
is.
then that person's going to go bankrupt. So we sold this guy. We had 2 properties we were selling last year.
Assignments.
And this was in February, like last week of February last year, when the market's on fire. And he gave firm offers to us. Firm offers.
We sold 2 properties to them. One of them closed. We made a pretty penny on the assignment fee, and it was great. Second one, the market had started to change, and they reached out and said, "We're not going to close." And I said, "Well, this is a firm deal. Like, what's the problem? Can I help you?" The coach in me, I was like, "Oh, what is it? You need private lending? Do you need a better mortgage broker? Like, what is the issue here?"
So he had put out.
Wait, aren't they a coach too?
Well, presenting that way,
claiming
but
to
I'm
be
a real coach, so
we
I
are
was
real
like, let's
coaches.
problem solve.
Okay, hang on. By definition, they are a coach because they have coaching clients.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
It was true.
And I believe they're paid to be a coach as well.
Correct.
Right. Self-proclaimed
self-promoting,
expert stuff.
the type that would like pay for a magazine to put their article out there. Yeah, that type.
Oh my God. So I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So that it turns out that the one guy calls Amanda. He's like trying to explain his way out of the scenario. Like, look, I'm sorry, I'm not going to close, but here's what happened. I put firm offers on like 6 other proproperties that same week.
All over Ontario.
All over Ontario. And
I'm recording the phone call.
And his lender who only wanted 20% down, suddenly wanted like 35% down. And that's I think there was more to it than just that. But
he was in over his head.
He was in
no longer
way
able
over
to
his
close.
head.
Multiple private lenders.
Multiple private
And
lenders.
So they probably don't even know about each other.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't know that he's moonlighting on them.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So
they don't close.
They didn't
So then
close.
we're like, okay, well, we're going to sue you for our assignment fee, which is rightfully ours, right? And there was a deposit paid, a small deposit of only $5,000 paid, but that's held by the lawyer in trust and only released on closing. Well, we find out that these clowns had claimed bankruptcy. And when you're a part of a bankruptcy, so this was learning, it's kind of fascinating to go through the process.
And this was before the market really turned.
It was right, it was just as it was
Yeah,
turning. Right. And to be a part of the bankruptcy claim, it was fascinating to see because you actually see everybody that they owe debt to and the amounts. And I received this list, and it was less than 200, but more
it was
than
over 100 people
on
that
the
he
list.
owed money to.
And I see the names, and I know a lot.
We know a lot
who
of these people
are, and we're on the list as well. And we're like, okay,
I've seen
we're
the list.
yeah. So we're never getting our money out of this, and it was just interesting to see how somebody had gotten themselves so over their head, and then the bankruptcy that there's no money left, that we didn't even get our deposit, that deposit that was held by the lawyer in trust goes to the bankruptcy claim. So
your deposit's gone.
It's gone.
It's not even your deposit anymore.
No.
It's not our deposit.
Wow.
Because it could only be used to purchase the property, and it could only have been released by a judge or the offender
I don't even think I realized that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
we just
matter.
found this out
It
too.
doesn't
I didn't think it
matter.
works that way, but yeah, security deposits. It's
Doesn't
it's
matter.
not. It's not.
It's not your deposit.
It is
No,
not
it's
your
just like a
deposit.
good faith deposit that
It's
doesn't
like-
really mean anything.
It's an IOU.
You know?
So
I mean, in the event that they didn't go bankrupt, it would have mattered. But anyways,
So just to give some context on the why the list was so long, is because there was a mortgage broker involved that connected a lot of those individual lenders. A lot
and
of
they
lenders
were
are
giving
individuals.
and they were
Yes.
giving both secured and a lot of unsecured loans
Yeah.
against probably a pile of unsecured loans against the same property.
yeah.
And
And he was they were expecting to do like the quick and dirty, right? in reality, real estate is not a quick and dirty game. It's a long, slow process. It's painful along the way, but
calculated, discerning, right?
Yes, but that false perception of flipping properties and making those quick bucks, it made them think that they could keep going like that. Well, it all came crashing down, and there was a lot of people on that list that I feel badly for. I mean, ours, we didn't lose anything. It was an assignment fee that we didn't gain. So
it was profits. It was a fee we were owed that we weren't paid.
It's hard
but
to say.
It wasn't a loan versus like the vast majority of the people on that list had lent money and lost it. So
I wanted to build our hot tub with that money for the assignment fee. So, I mean, it's hard to be sad about something you never had.
I spoke to one of them. That money was her tuition money.
Oh, God. I know. And I understand that. And some people, it's part of their retirement plans. Yeah. And it's tragic. We didn't lend to him. We just didn't receive our assignment fee. So, you know, these other people are truly victims in that situation. Now, also, I think it's important to say that most people don't behave that way.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever encountered this in my entire career.
But the impact that those two business partners had on that many people, and then the circle that it would impact beyond that is devastating. So, you know, it's not something to be taken lightly. Right. But yeah, it's serious when you're investing somebody else's dollars, and should be taken seriously.
Just to close the loop on the student I was speaking to whose tuition money was tied up, it looks like she will be paid out because the mortgage broker who did put that deal together took over that specific project.
Oh, yes.
In order to finish the renovation and then sell the property.
Yeah.
And so he's doing everything, as far as I understand, doing everything he can to make everyone whole.
To salvage
right.
that. Okay,
and I believe he's paying them their interest too.
Wow.
Well, that's good.
So there are good people out there.
Sure.
For sure. Yeah. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever seen this in my entire career. But this is why, you know, it's important for you to understand, you know, due diligence, whether
you're doing business
whether you're lending money or you're hiring somebody. There's a process of due diligence. It's not foolproof. There's no perfect way. Unless especially when you're dealing with unsecured loans and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's a lot of tools you can put in place to protect yourself and help minimize the chances of encountering somebody like that.
I love that you brought that up, because the reason I spend way too much time researching these things, because I want to understand where things went wrong. So one of the things that went wrong is the gentleman that we're talking about, the gentleman who bought the property from you, that you signed to, I don't believe they had any sort of construction background. So they don't have any sort of operational execution of a real estate burr, flip, whatever. Yeah. In terms of and there's two of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Neither of them were strong in the execution.
No.
Right?
No.
Which is what. So I'll disagree with you. I think you need I think you should have a fair amount of trades understanding.
You should.
If you're gonna be on that level size of the business.
It's if you're gonna you're definitely I think it's definitely an asset for sure. I'm just saying it's not required.
Not for everyone.
They
had
depending on your strategy.
If
there was 8 properties on that list.
If your main strategy
that scale, you should know how to execute.
Sure, and if your main strategy is renovation focused.
And those were.
Then absolutely.
One of the deal, the tuition, the students' deal was to build a brand new cottage.
Yeah.
Wow.
A luxury cottage.
Yeah.
They just bought there was only a lot.
Yeah.
You need to know a lot about how to build a house.
Yeah. So just to correct,
in Muskoka,
and
they're from London.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know. I've seen the place you're talking about too, which I didn't realize that was taken over. Is that what you're saying? Like that was taken over by I'm
told by one of the investors in that, one of the lenders in that deal.
Yeah. So anyways, just to sort of reiterate what I was saying, when I said it's not essential, what I meant is it's not essential for real estate investing as a whole. But if you're going to be focusing on renovation based investments as opposed to turnkey or passive investments, then it certainly would be essential for you to have a good understanding, which is why, get to know your trades. This again, focus, develop a team, start slow. Don't try and flip 5 houses at a time with firm offers. These are all no-nos. Even if you do know what you're doing, you still don't put there would never be a time where we're going to go out and put buy 5 properties, all firm offers. That's just not how you do things, right?
Yeah.
So
there's people who, even a good environment, developers are still going under.
Yeah.
Like there's that one in Vancouver. Do you guys hear about that one? The bankruptcy protection, $700 million worth of debt, 16 properties. The chief operating officer is a former city councillor of Vancouver.
Ouch.
Oh, wow.
So they still couldn't get through the red tape of getting
Wow.
the developments done, right?
Yeah.
So even if you knew the know-how, there are risks.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And to understand that, and I mean, these worst case scenarios are, few and far between, but to know who you're doing business with is really important. Not just like, oh, hey, you're in real estate, I'm in real estate, let's go do a deal together. The due diligence is much more in depth than that, other than just sharing an interest in real estate investing. To understand who you're doing business with, do they have a track record? How long have they been doing this? Is this their first deal? Which is fine. Everybody has their first deal, but
Which is fine.
Wouldn't you
Just
want
be
to know
honest
that?
about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to know that? And what scale is their first deal as well? Is their first deal a duplex? That makes sense. Is their first deal a 12-plex? That doesn't make sense to me, anyways. So to mitigate some of these risks, it is possible, but understanding with your eyes wide open about what you're getting into from the a financial partner perspective. And from a working partner perspective, like it's important.
And also, I just want to make the point: you guys have immersed yourselves into this business.
Yes.
Entirely.
Yes, we have.
For almost, it's been 17 years.
Yeah.
It has been. Yeah. So beyond
It's
my
not
property
it's not a
management-
side hustle. Not at all.
But beyond my property management, I was working as a real estate coach since 2014.
Yeah, we're trying to get to that. We're running out of time, but
Oh, geez, I know, because we babble on.
2014.
2014, yeah. So I coached and led a
paid
team of
coach.
coaches, ran a content department for a number of years, sat on the leadership team at Keyspire actually, and went on maternity leave and haven't really been able to return since then. So I've got 8 years of real estate investment coaching and
fully
our
immersing
own,
yourself.
Completely. This is what our life is. Property management experience, our investments along the way, plus Marty's on-site construction experience along the way that we've been at it for a while.
So both you're immersed in the business. You're quite vertical in your integration, and that you have your own property management business. You coach yourself. You raise your own capital. You teach it, right? You guys live it, breathe it, right? So it's not quick.
No.
It's not quick money.
No.
Nor is it guaranteed rich.
No, and it's not easy.
I'll clarify. If you go slow
It's
and pragmatically,
kind of
it seems it's pretty.
it is pretty guaranteed if you go slow and steady.
Yeah.
And smart.
Yeah.
Versus, we've discussed like some people are going down in flames.
Yeah.
Right, and moving back in with their parents or their in-laws, like it's really, really sad.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard work. Like last night I worked past 9 p.m. Like you have to deal with your business. It can't be like, oh, I'm self-employed. Business will take care of itself.
4 hour
Like,
work week.
what?
It can't. Sorry, just to say, it can be if you have different goals.
And if you got yourself there, right? Like, depending on how much time have you already put in. So, as we said at the beginning of the conversation, we're working towards this transitional period, but we've got a huge project to accomplish first before, and again, it's like your game of chess. You got to move your pieces here. Planting seeds is another way that you can see it, but it takes time for the investments to grow, and you'll go through periods where you expand your portfolio contracts a bit as well. You're, moving money around as you're saying, okay, if I sell this property, I can do X, Y, and Z with those funds. Like you're always shuffling things around, it seems, but you need to
How much time
go
do we
at a
have?
good pace.
Oh, we're way over time. Oh boy.
Oh boy. You invited very chatty people to your podcast.
Yeah, we could do this. Isn't it like a 5-hour podcast? Should we mention our?
Yeah. What do you got? Okay. So we're way over time. So what is the project you're currently working on?
Well, we've got a 23 unit. It's a rehab property or a burr. I guess you call it a burr.
I don't like calling it a burr.
We don't typically call it a burr. We're like a rehab or a full
all these
scale.
terms that we use like that have just been abused out there.
Yeah. So why don't you explain it, since Amanda's the one who typically explains our deal to our potential investors. So.
Yeah, so we've got a 23-unit building in London, Ontario, and the overall plan here is to renovate the full building. Our plan is to do 50% in year 1, 50% in year 2, trigger a refinance, do a large payout of profits. I give very detailed reporting throughout the entire investment, and with that, coaching calls to make sure that they can decipher the reports and that they understand how their investment is performing along the way, and to learn. And it's a kind of a fun thing to see that we're essentially turning over a full apartment building. So there's a lot to see along the way, and we're happy to share. So reach out to me directly just by email. Amanda. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Amanda at eliterentalmanagement.ca is my email. That's how they can get in touch with me.
You've both done a lot of TV work. Are you documenting this anywhere on social media, YouTube, anywhere?
Okay, so we used to document everything on our YouTube channel, which is called House Hustlers. But ever since Montgomery,
we had a baby.
It's really pretty much been at a standstill since Montgomery was born. I think we're looking to start, ramping up on there a little bit more now that we're kind of stabilized as new parents, but that's so House Hustlers.
There's a lot of past projects.
House Hustlers on YouTube. It should be on there. That would be the best location to find it. But there's a ton of past projects on there. If anybody's interested in looking at what we do, it's kind of fun, HGTV style. Only I think mine's better than HGTV's. But I put my expertise and my spin, and I do all the production and video editing and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, and
House Hustlers, is that one word on YouTube?
Two words, House Hustlers. Okay. Yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah, House Hustlers. And Marty had done all the editing, production, on all those videos.
Oh
is why when
that's
after we
why
had a
we
baby,
that's the main reason I had to stop, because trying to do a renovation and moving cameras around yourself without a camera crew, and then you finish the renovation and you've just got this pile of raw footage that is hours and hours and hours. So it just became a little bit too difficult to do the high production values anymore. But we'll see what the future holds. I do miss it, so yeah. For sure.
The one thing I like about putting out content is, like, a lot of it doesn't have a return, but it feels like it's public service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like literally, we know people going down in flames. It's incredibly sad.
Yeah, but to share the education along the way. I know within our jobs, like as coaches at Keyspire, we've created a lot of content, but you would have to be a part of that community to actually access that content. So we have done a ton of educational stuff, but that's within a private group that people can join, of course. But content on our own, we kind of put on a pause.
Yeah.
Thanks, Montgomery.
Yeah. That's all right.
He's much more interesting.
The old glory days may return still, so
perhaps
we'll see.
So way over time. Any final thoughts you want to share? Maybe, especially to anyone who's like nervous about getting started in this market. Any final words?
I would say you need to find a way to make it happen. If you're interested in getting into real estate, I think it's an excellent idea. Some people are confused about, prices and what's going on. They don't understand, like the it's always going to be a good investment. Things seem higher than ever, and people think that the only direction prices are going to go is down. I totally disagree. We might see little, blips in the market. The market always zigzags, but it zigzags upward. And so, I highly recommend, buying real estate. And a good way to start, if you are having trouble to raise the funds yourself, then you need to work with other people, whether it's teaming up with your siblings and parents, colleagues, university friends, pooling people together can make it feasible. Mm-hmm. And so, it's about sacrifice too, right? Like a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to live with my, my university friends or whatever. And okay, but if that's going to make it happen, if that's, sometimes you have to do what you have to do, even if it's just for a short period of time. So that would be the recommendation I have. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen on its own. You got to make it happen. So.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I think working within current market conditions, there's no perfect time to buy or sell real estate, because by the time you knew it was perfect, that period is gone, right? So working within current conditions, leverage people around you. There's so many people doing amazing things in real estate who are being incredibly successful with what they're doing. So you can hook up with a community, a coach, a mentor is extremely helpful. You don't have to go at it alone, and I wouldn't suggest going at it alone. There's a lot of education out there. But yeah, understanding that it's hard work, it's not quick and dirty, but it is entirely possible to take control of your financial future, because it's all about freedom, right? That if you have to work for your paycheck, you're going to run out of hours by the time you actually achieve what you need to retire comfortably and reach those goals.
And don't worry about that passion thing. Passion, it's simple math. It's math. Do the math.
Yeah. And you're going to go through challenges and bumps along the way, but it's about overcoming those obstacles, and that's what you're learning from. That's, you know, how you're going to grow. But yeah, fabulous. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. So thank you both so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
This has been a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.